The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Wolf Trap, with over 50 summer concerts just announced, including Paul Simon, Heart, the Goo Goo Dolls, and many more. Pre-sales are happening now. Learn more about Wolf Trap membership and early access to tickets at wolftrap.org/membership. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming entertainment includes I Mom So Hard on March 22nd. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. R&B star Lalah Hathaway performs live at the Strathmore in North Bethesda, Maryland on Saturday, February 22nd. She called in to preview the show and reflect on her life's journey, from growing up the daughter of Donny Hathaway to winning 5 Grammys in her own right. Hey, Lalah Hathaway. Hey, thanks so much for joining the show again today.
Thank you for having me.
You're coming to the Strathmore in North Bethesda, Maryland on February 22nd. Great spot. It is, I'm telling you folks, if you've never been there in this area, once you pop in there, you'll look around and you'll just see it is an impressive space. But you and I actually spoke when you were at the Kennedy Center. You did like a Joni Mitchell tribute back in 2022, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is your second time on our show, but in terms of Strathmore, like what are we gonna hear? Is it mostly the latest album Venta Black, or is it mixed in with some hits over the years, or tease set list?
What are we gonna hear? I could never tell you that.
That's why you got to come to the show.
That's right. You got to come to the show. I think so much of the show is like, what will you hear? And it's always so hard to take 35 years of a career and condense it into like an hour and a half show. Yeah. But we try to cram as much music in there as possible.
Kind of like trying to take a 25-year career and cram it into a 15-minute interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll do our best. Hey, but before we get into some of the career highlights and stuff, I do want to say that I know you were just at the Grammys where you had a couple R&B nominations. So yes. What was it like finally being in the room when Beyonce finally won Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter? Like, it's many years in the making, but it seemed like everyone in the room was standing and cheering, and some were getting emotional. But what was it like for you?
It's a really exciting moment. I mean, she's, sort of at the top of the chain in terms of like professionalism, execution, work ethic. And so to see her finally reap that reward, I mean, it's something of a kind of Scent of a Woman Oscar or Training Day Oscar. There's probably a lot of records she probably should have won that for already.
Nice but Al Pacino and Denzel reference. You're right. It took them forever. That was like the career achievement award. Yeah, you're right.
It's true. But they can't always get around to what they get around to. And I'll tell you what, I was making records for almost 25 years before I even went to the Grammys for the first time. So everything has its own divine timing. And I'm really excited for her because she's just stellar,
I love it. And as a movie history guy, people are going to call me on it if I don't. I do have to clarify. Denzel had won supporting actor Oscar for Glory back in '89, but you're referencing his lead actor win.
His lead actor win in Training Day, which he was splendid in, but he was splendid in about 50 other things as well.
Yeah, he should have. Funny you mentioned Pacino, because Denzel should have won for Malcolm X, but that was the year Pacino finally got his for Scent of a Woman, even though Pacino probably should have won for Godfather, whatever. So yeah, it's funny the ripple effect, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. All right. Well, and then one just to put a bow on the Grammys. It was also it was a big night for Kendrick Lamar, winning Record of the Year for Not Like Us, and I guess this is a big February for him because same month is his big Super Bowl halftime. Can't get bigger February than that. But I wanted to ask, because I know you work with Kendrick on To Pimp a Butterfly on Mama, I guess was the track. So how proud are you to see Kendrick continue doing well like this? That butterfly those wings are flapping, and the butterfly effect is strong since you've been working with him.
Absolutely. He's another one. They have got to be two of my favorite artists really of all time. They both work really hard. They're both dedicated to the craft. They're both dedicated to pushing the culture. And that for me is important.
Absolutely. All right. Well, enough about Beyonce and Kendrick. This is. Let's go into the legend of Lalah Hathaway. How your career was born. I know you're born in Chicago in '68, a pivotal year in American history. I mean, that was when Bobby Kennedy and MLK were both assassinated that year.
Yeah.
Crazy year. Nixon takes off. It was a crazy year. But
It was
anyway,
so crazy, but it looks pale in comparison to this year already, doesn't it?
right? I mean, and we're only a couple weeks into the new administration. Like, what's going to happen next? Like, see,
Who
it,
knows?
yeah, it's really tricky to even talk about it because I know I have listeners of all stripes, and it used to be I tried to do the bipartisan thing, whatever. But like, this is beyond the pale. We have to call it out. Like, we have a billionaire from apartheid South Africa trying to infiltrate our most secure government things. He wasn't elected by anyone, Elon Musk, and now he's closing down departments and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Now he knows your social security number. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Donald Trump is talking about America taking over the Gaza Strip. That's the latest thing. But by the time this airs, there'll probably be 10 million more. It's real. It's really troubling. It's troubling times. So,
These are
man,
troubling times, and this is why we need artists that stand up for what they believe in and that make music and reflect the ideas and ideals of the culture. And that was an important thing for me with Vanta Black, was really being able to, resist. That record was made largely during the pandemic, and there was so much stuff going on, and I had so much time to sit back and listen and watch and see in real time how things were shaping up. And so, yeah, we're in very similar times.
very similar times. And I know Common and Michael McDonald and a bunch of people helping collab on Vanta Black. So
Yeah.
everyone check it out. But the reason I brought up, the year 68, yes, I didn't mean for us to politically tangent, but it is kind of elephant in the room if you ignore it. But the reason I mentioned it was I wanted to, talk about, your musical, background growing up. Obviously, you're the daughter of soul legend Donny Hathaway. I guess what, this Christmas came out when you were probably what, like 2 years old or something. So it was like a toddler tunes for you, for you. But do you? My question is, do you remember your dad's music or just music in general playing around the house all the time? Like, you're probably
Oh
destined to
yeah,
be a
we
musician.
definitely we definitely were in a very musical house. My mother is a musician as well. Um, I grew up taking piano lessons, and I went to performing arts high school, and then I went to Berkeley. So all of my life there has been music like all around me. And it was always odd to me that other kids' parents were not musicians or didn't sing at church or didn't do anything musical, because
Hmm.
that was just such a natural part of my life.
Absolutely. And I should say, your parents met at Howard University. So there's a DC local connection here on your way here to Strathmore in Bethesda.
Absolutely, absolutely. DC is very much like a second home to me. I have a lot of family in the DMV, and we get so much support from that part of the country.
That's awesome. All right. Well, you did, obviously probably in the early years, everyone probably referred to you as the daughter of Donny Hathaway, but pretty quickly you made a big name for yourself with that self-titled debut album in 1990, Lalah Hathaway. If I remember correctly, something was on that album first, right? And then later you redid
Correct.
it and you won a Grammy when you redid it with Snarky Puppy years later. But yeah,
Yeah.
talk about the fond place in your heart that song something has, not only because you won, but because it was on your first album.
Yeah, a lot of people hit me on Sunday when I didn't win a Grammy, and they were just like so sad, and they felt like, empirically this is a great record, and I agree, but I have been known to spin the block 10, 20 years later and get a Grammy for a song that I recorded when I was 20 or 19 years old. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm
Yeah,
excited, that these songs that I choose have been such great songs. They didn't really need me. You know what I mean? These are
yeah,
songs that have outlasted, and for something to come back with a new arrangement and win a Grammy 25 years after I recorded it. And then another, I don't know how long before that, Brenda Russell actually wrote that song. Brenda
right.
Russell and David Foster, and she had recorded it. So it's just a great song. It'll last forever. We can put it in a show, take it out of a show. We can re-record it with another arrangement in 5 or 10 years, and it's still going to be a great song.
Yeah,
So it's
songs are
exciting.
timeless. Yeah, there's
Absolutely.
I realize that the more I do this, the more there is no past, present, or future. Like I think it's all like interweaving in some weird, ridiculous way that we can't, as humans, can't totally understand.
Yeah,
But I think it's all one continuum of music.
it is. It really is. And you can look at the Grammys and watch Cynthia Erivo sing "Fly Me to the Moon," and there's not a moment lost. That's
No.
a great song. It'll last forever.
Or
Period. End of subject.
or even her singing "Defying Gravity." It was Idina Menzel and years ago, and now it's Cynthia Erivo.
Absolutely.
It gives us goosebumps again. Like these great songs are timeless, like your stuff.
Like a new song.
Like a brand new spin on it. Awesome. Well, by the way, if you can sing like you, though, everyone look up something on YouTube or something like you're harmonizing with yourself. That what do you call it? Polyphonic
I don't call
overtones.
it anything. I think everybody else calls it something,
Yeah,
but I don't call it anything because
it's just
I
Layla.
don't really understand what it is. I've been doing it most of my life.
Yeah.
And it's really funny watching people on YouTube like analyzing it, what I'm doing, because they have no idea.
Yeah, they're just you scroll in the comment section and they're giving it names, and you're like,
I love it. I
I'm
really, I
just
really,
singing.
I really love it. Yeah, I love it.
That's just the Hathaway. Hey, so then, all right, so then I guess you said years later something won with the Snarky Puppy, but you also won for your Robert Glasper collab, Jesus Children, and it's sort of a somber topic. So obviously the Sandy Hook massacre, right? So talk about him. Did he reach out to you, or you reached out to him and say we gotta capture
He
this
did.
historical moment of this tragedy?
Yeah, he had in his mind, we were actually doing a Stevie Wonder tribute.
Hmm.
And Rob had in his mind, we all had a common friend who lost a child.
Hmm.
Um, and, it was one of those things where it was such a somber moment playing it, but you could just really hear a pin drop in the room. And again, it's one of those songs that will last forever and have relevance forever and be poignant forever. And so to get a Grammy for that, to be recognized for that, was really amazing.
Yeah, and sadly, it will be relevant forever because there continues to be horrific school shootings, and that song just will relate, sadly,
Yeah.
every time there is one. Um, well, on a lighter note, you did work with Glasper again, and I guess, and we should throw in Snoop Dogg. I think it was the three of you for Little Ghetto Boy, Grammy winner again, on your live album, Lalah Hathaway Live. Talk about the idea of doing like sort of I think it's been called a spiritual successor to your dad's '72 live album, which I know he recorded at the Troubadour in LA and the Bitter End in Greenwich Village. Like that was kind of a huge thing for Dad. But what was sort of your idea of, you know what, maybe I should do my own Lalah Hathaway Live just like Dad did?
Yeah. I always wanted to do a live album. I am a live performer. I like creating live music. That's the foundation of what I do. I knew that I wanted to make a live album, but I think in the 90s, when I was talking to labels about it, no one could hear it. It hadn't really been done since like Peter Frampton Comes Alive. It was like a big deal. These records don't sell. No one buys these records. Young kids don't listen to these records. And then subsequently, Jill Scott made a live album that was amazing. Erica Badu made a live album that was amazing. It became a thing. And so I just started really circling the block until I found someone that would help me put that on. I knew that I wanted to record it at the Troubadour. I knew that, that was a stage that I had never stood on before, but that my father had been on. I wanted to recreate that feeling. I grew up with that record, wondering like who those ladies were in the audience, who all those people were, what were they wearing?
Yeah.
Were they smoking cigarettes? Were they drinking a beer? Just all of these fantasies about what the room was, because there was so much dialogue between him and the people in the room. And that's an important building block to how I am as a performer now. So I knew that I wanted to create that record, and I'm so proud of it. It won everything it was nominated for, and it was just really one of those moments for me, like a full circle moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, I think it like not only for Little Ghetto Boy won, but it won for your cover of Anita Baker's Angel was on there, and the album itself won Best R&B album. So yeah, I think a trio of Grammys on that one to give you to
Yeah.
round it out to your now you're a five-time winner. But you know what? I mean, whenever artists come on like yourself, like of course we're listing these accolades, but it's more about the creative work for you. The accolades sort of come after the fact as a hindsight thing, but that's not what fuels you in the beginning. So I guess we've listed a lot of the big award-winning outstanding ones. But in your mind, like, what is your biggest sleeper hit? Like, or maybe one that didn't get as much acclaim that you're the most proud of? Is it A Moment or Outrun the Sky or Self Portrait, where it all begins?
Mm.
Honestly, what about some of the ones that didn't win for you that you look back on and be like, that was some of my finest work and should have been honored?
Yeah. You know, honestly, I look back at this point in my life and I have questioned it. But I look back now at this point in my life and really I can say with complete confidence that all of my albums are good. They're all good.
All good. It's
They're
all
all
good.
they're all mostly filled with the intent of wanting to be great.
Yeah.
And I really feel like if I go back and listen to Self Portrait, that's a stellar album. If I go back and listen to Outrun the Sky, also stellar album. My first album is probably, because of the nostalgia of it, I think a lot of people hold that one in such high esteem. But I just don't, I really am proud of my body of work. I am really super excited about the way I have approached music. It has never gotten old for me. I'm never jaded. I'm always reaching for something new. I am a super collaborative writer and performer. I'm always trying to work with the best and the brightest because I feel like it rubs off on me. And so one day, hopefully before I'm dead, people will return to those albums and say, "Oh, she'd been about it the whole time," because that's the truth.
Absolutely. A body of work. It really is a great discography. And I want to remind folks before we go that, you've transcended music. Even let me mention Cynthia Erivo earlier, or even Beyonce. They've done it on the big screen as well. And you were on the Hidden Figures soundtrack with Pharrell on Surrender, and you actually acted in Girls Trip, and you were in the Netflix show Family Reunion. So you've got some silver screen, or I guess it's not really silver screen. It's
Is it
mostly
silver? Is
that
it
you
pewter?
well, you were in the talking pictures.
Yes, you were on the dummy box. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
now it basically, everyone called it the tube, they're like derogatory back in the day, but now our HD screens, that's where the action is at home now, streaming. So yeah, my question is, thanks for calling me on that, but my question is just how much of a joy has it been to get to transcend just the music realm and show a little acting chops? I'm sure you learn a little more every day.
I do, and it's so much fun. And I'm super into comedy, and I have been all my life. And that is like the profession that I would do if I were not a musician and I were not a coward. That is what I would do because I think making people laugh is like one of the noblest things you can do. It's really just next to music for me. And I
Yeah.
think you probably will find a lot of musicians are comedians and a lot of comedians are musicians. And so I had a lot of fun doing that. I really want to do more of that as well.
I'm curious, what is your favorite, like, do you have like a favorite comedy movie throughout history? I mean, you were in Girls Trip, but I mean, like going way
Yeah.
back, like that you either grew up with or whatever. Like, is there one? And it could change tomorrow, obviously. That's how I am with movie. But
Honestly, I don't have favorites. It's
yeah,
so hard. I mean, I grew up in a time like at the beginning of sort of SCTV and Saturday Night Live. And,
yeah.
my mom had Richard Pryor 8 tracks in the car. When she would get out of the car, I would put that in there until she got back, and snatch it out real quick.
Well, you grew up in Second City, of course. It's a comedy hub.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I think Chicago is famous for that, and I really have always loved making people laugh, and I consider myself on the low like a legendary comedian, but I'm such a coward. It's so hard. It's so hard to get up there and do something that you've never done, but it is something that I aspire to do someday.
All right. Well, stay tuned for the stand-up comedy career.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess that's a good segue. What is next for you? Do you have any other film projects coming up, or is it mostly promoting Vanta Black and cranking out the next album next?
We're going on tour. I have a new project coming out sometime in March, which I'm really excited about because sometimes my clip has been like 6 years, 5 years, 10 years to put out a record. I'm putting out a record this spring. I'm really excited about it, which is further going to tell the story of Vanta Black. I am writing a book with David Ritz, which I'm super excited about.
Like a memoir, autobiography?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I don't know exactly what you call it right now, but we are getting started on that.
Nice.
And I'm just really excited about just learning all this new stuff about myself and learning about my dad and learning about music. I'm always a student, always a student.
I love it. What else before we go? Chicago. All right, so second city. So you love comedy, and of course, the music. Growing up with your dad, everything. Oh, sports. Were you? Was it like a big Chicago? Or were you White Sox or Cubs?
I was a White Sox
Bears?
and a Cubs fan, but I grew up mostly on the north side of Chicago, so I was mostly a Cubs fan. And then as I got older, I moved back to the south side of Chicago and I became a White Sox fan.
Gotcha.
Now I'm not so much of a baseball fan. I actually went to my first baseball game last year. My best friend took me to a Dodgers game. And
Nice.
so now I'm a complete Dodgers fan. And I was a Bears fan and I am a Bears and a Raiders fan. So yeah, I mean I'm one of those people that really enjoys the sport and enjoys the competition, but I'm okay with whoever wins really mostly.
Well, that's cool. Now that I think about it, you were like entering your 20s in like the late 80s. So you were there, your teen years were the Walter Payton Bears Super Bowl with Ditka like in 85, right? And
Absolutely.
then when you're entering your 20s, you're there for the Michael Jordan heyday of the Bulls run there for those six titles. So that's an amazing time to be a Chicago sports fan.
It really was. And I mean, I think they even came to my high school, which is the Academy of Performing Arts, and they drafted kids for the Bears Super Bowl uh,
Really?
for that video. Remember that video?
Oh, the Super Bowl shuffle
Yes, Super Bowl shuffle. Yes, yes, yes.
with William Refrigerator Perry and Jim McMahon and all Peyton and all those. Wow. Well,
Absolutely.
that's cool. But it's cool to hear that you've sort of you keep your hometown fandom, but that you've adopted some of the LA teams as you've.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess so. I guess if you are are you based out there, and are you doing okay through the wildfires? It's a
I
wild time.
am. I'm doing okay. It's a little bit rainy today. The air is so full of particulates, so it's deceiving because sometimes it looks clear, but it's still not great air to breathe.
Yeah.
I'm just really hopeful that the Santa Anas will kick down. I'm really hopeful that people will really take a serious look at climate change and understand that while there's not a whole lot we can do because the earth is going to shake us off like a boil at some point anyway.
Right. I think that's
We're
what's happening right now. We've
it's so
overstayed our welcome.
it feels like we're in end times. I don't know if end times is like 17 weeks or another 1700 years. I'm
Right.
not sure,
Right.
but I'm trying to do what I can to be good to the earth. I'm so sad about what's happened for people. I've met some folks at Rob Glasper's event here in LA that had lost their homes in Altadena, and it's just the saddest thing ever. I wish there was more I could do. There's so much going on in the world right now. It is really kind of a deep wound which is really happening in this country particularly. And so my intent is to just really keep making music, to keep trying to make a balm, to keep trying to make a salve. Because I know that at the most depressing or low points in my life, music has been so important for me. And so hopefully the music I create is something like that for people.
Exactly. I mean, like you're saying, in depressing times. I mean, we opened the conversation saying you were born in '68, which was a hard time for America, and now we are again. And but sometimes you wake up and you're like, man, how do you put one foot in front of the other? It can feel so depressing. But I think use your God-given talent with music. So now inspire us and heal us and help us with your music. That's all you can do, Lalah Hathaway.
Absolutely.
We need you. And everybody, you can experience the healing power of that music when Lalah Hathaway performs live at the Strathmore in North Bethesda, Maryland on February 22nd. So get your tickets now. Hey, thank you so much for the time you took today. You've been really generous. We really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.